Hi sewing friends, how are you today? Well, it's finally getting really warm up here on the mountain and it feels like summer. We went from like a really long winter to summer today, but it is gorgeous. The birds are out playing. I've probably seen about 10 Pleiadian woodpeckers today, and they're the ones that look like Woody Woodpecker. They're pretty big. They have a big red head, and some other birds that I haven't seen around here before, so that's kind of cool. So over the weekend, on Sunday, I posted a picture of something that I was working on, and it was a block. It was white on white, and I got a lot of comments about that, so I thought I'd do a follow-up video. Thank you for all the comments so that I had material to talk about today. But this is what it was. I'm not quite finished yet, but this is just a little table topper. It is going to measure probably, I think, about close to 14 by 14. That's the largest size. And I got the design from the Anita Good Design All Access Club magazine. When I joined Anita Club Design, it was back in November, there weren't many member options at the time, and I think they've added on to that, like you can pay as you go, paid a month to month, whereas I just paid all up front. So it's kind of costly, but I really enjoy it, and I do recommend it. This magazine is, let's see, how many pages long is it? It comes out once a month, and it looks like it is 301 pages of embroidery. Cool stuff in here. So the feature design this design is broken down into smaller blocks, and you embroider each block and then you assemble them to create this larger picture. And this is cherry blossoms. So living in Maryland, we have DC down the road, and cherry blossoms are huge, but I think they've already expired by now. So let's see, like you don't get like 10,000 designs in this magazine, but they have projects, and then they have different sizes. So it varies. There are 5 different sizes. So if you have like a small 4x4 hoop, I'm sure that you can still use designs in this magazine, all the way up to, it's larger than my machine. Like my largest hoop is 8x12. So there's something larger than that. And there's plenty larger than that. So, so you can make some larger size. They have everything. There's in the hoop quilting with like some decorative stitches that can be applied on top. If you know how to use your embroidery software, you can really manipulate the designs. They have in the hoop projects like bags, drawstring bags, zippered bags. In this magazine, they have like a pocket for zippered aprons, or I'm sorry, pocketed aprons. Actually, I think they have the entire apron in the magazine this month that you make it in the hoop. So the thing that I made was kind of heirloom, and what makes it heirloom is, let me just fold it here. This section right here, these tulips, I know it's kind of hard to see, that's called trapunto. And what that means is, like, I put a little bit of extra batting in that area, and all the embroidery, like over here, this is micro stippling, so it just really, really flattens it. And so it makes this really pop out more. And then this section down here, I had hooped wash away stabilizer. This is called Sulky Fabri-Solvi stabilizer. And once I put this in water, this will dissipate. And this technique along here is called cut work. And these are those, I can never say it, ruchelet bars that go across. So that's a really cool technique. So that's what makes this more of like an heirloom project. Now the reason I chose white on white was because I like to be just a little bit more creative. So I have some pencils that I can color on fabric with, and I was thinking about coloring in the tulips with my pencils. So this fabric is kind of interesting too. I don't know if you'll be able to see it too well, but it is like a tone on tone. So there's a butterfly fabric. So I use that on the front and the back. So we'll see what that looks like. If I had to like critique this in some way, I would say the back of it was the hardest part. It gives step-by-step instructions how to sew it up, and that wasn't the hard part. It was my measurements were off a little bit. So you stitch out 4 of these blocks, okay? And they tell you to cut the seam allowance down to 1/2 inch. Okay, no problem. I did that for all 4 blocks, sewed them together the way they instructed. But on the back, it was like kind of something I've never tried before. So, hey, you know, you don't really have good luck your first time around. But it just didn't lay right. So I cheated. What I did, I was thinking of what to call it. I called it what did I call it? Seam, something. Oh, I can't remember, but I'm making a faux seam. So basically, I just used the fusible tape and folded the fabric over and secured it and held it into place. I think it'll be fine. If this is supposed to be an heirloom project, you know, it's not going to be abused and mistreated too much. But it was really a lot of fun. It went by pretty fast for this larger design. For this particular pattern, there was only 2 sizes. I did the larger one, and it said on the machine that it would stitch out in 38 minutes. But being an in the hoop kind of project, that means I have to take it in and out to do some things. So for like the cut work area, I had to cut the fabric away. I had to put the batting down. I had to trim around the batting to make the tulips stand out even more. So I understand there's some people that are really new to embroidery, and probably everything I just said was absolute Greek to you, right? Well, that's okay. I understand. I was there once too. So for machine embroidery designs, you have to have an embroidery machine, and they have hoops that you attach to the machine. So you have to use a stabilizer. That's the foundation for doing any type of machine embroidery, is your stabilizer. So you hoop the stabilizer, and you know, you might hoop your project, the fabric, whatever. It just depends on what you're doing. But let's talk about the design. The designs you can buy online and download them to your computer, and then you have to transfer them to generally a USB stick. Most machines are like that. Oh, I have a friend on here. Hi, Marsha, or Maureen. How are you today? And I lost my thought. That's okay. No problem. I'll get right back to it. So we're talking about people who are new to machine embroidery, and you transfer the designs to your machine somehow. You can transfer them directly to the machine with a cable, or you can use a USB stick that will go in your computer, and then you transfer the design to the stick and then stick that inside your machine and bring the design up. So this is totally different than any built-in decorative stitches. A lot of the machines on the market these days do have built-in embroidery designs, and they're great. They're really nice designs, and it's a great way just to practice, especially if you're new to machine embroidery and you haven't done it before. Questions that I get asked frequently about machine embroidery. Boy, I remember way back in the day when I started and I bought the machine, but I needed thread. And the place that I bought the machine from said, do you want rayon or do you want polyester? I had no idea what the difference was between the thread. And I think that's like, aside from picking out your machine, if you're going to buy a lot of thread at one time, you need to know about the different threads. So a rayon thread is what I went with, and I'm so glad that I did. One, I don't have children, so I have no need to like bleach anything that I wear. So rayon thread cannot tolerate bleach, but rayon thread can tolerate a hot iron, and I like to do a lot of freestanding embroideries. So which that means is I hoop a piece of stabilizer, and in Salkie's case it would be soft and sheer, and then I would stitch a flower out on it, and there's some designs out there that are made specifically to be freestanding, and this is different than freestanding lace. So once I finished stitching out that flower, there's a tool. It's called like a hot cut tool. It's very similar to like a soldering iron. I mean, it gets that hot. and it has like this little finger tip on it that once it's warmed up, you can move that around the edge of your embroidery. And what it does is it burns out your embroidery so that you have a freestanding embroidery with like a finished edge, and your thread's not going to unravel. It's nice. I really love that technique. I think that's a great technique for a beginner to do, because you get fantastic results and people will think it looks really kind of challenging, like, oh my god, you made that. So it's really good to do. So the other option is polyester thread. Polyester thread, I don't dislike it, I just don't have much of it, and for its general purpose of that you can bleach it, it's just really not a need for me. It does not tolerate a hot iron very well. And as a matter of fact, it is not made out of a natural product. It is a man-made product. So that's why I prefer rayon thread also. It's a man-made, it's made out of a wood pulp. So that's a huge decision to make right off the bat. And I think I bought like 50 spools of thread when I purchased my first embroidery machine. And so, you know, I'm glad I made the right decision for me. So being a Salkey educator nowadays, I use exclusively Salkey thread. You know, I kind of got introduced to Salkey early on, so I didn't really use many other different types of threads to know a lot of difference between them. So when I say I don't use other thread, I don't know, it's because honestly, I do not know. I have a closet filled over there with Salkey thread in it, and it's a lifetime supply. So I'm going to use it up. Let's see. I can't remember what other questions people asked me about this particular project. Maureen, if you did not see the project, this is what I made. I'm not quite finished yet. I have to put the binding on, but a lot of people commented on a post that I wrote earlier this weekend showing pictures about this project, and they really liked it and they were inquisitive about it. So I thought I'd do a follow-up video so you can catch up with that a little later. Boy, I am smoking. You know, Mother Nature has paid me a visit. And I just get power surges every now and then. So I think I'm going to wrap up this video. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me and to watch. And all the comments, I do read them. I try to reply to them as soon as I can. And, you know, ask questions and give me more material to work with. Because the more we interact with one another, the more frequently I'll like to post these videos. So, oh, I also did a blog post today at www.sewingmachineartistry.com. I received a magazine from Schmetz. It's a free magazine, and you all can go take a look at it. The topic is quilting retreats, and it talks about like different types of quilting retreats. Like you might just, like a store might have a 2-day retreat, or you might have some girlfriends and you go to, you rent a house or go to a hall or something like that and have a retreat. And he talks even about going to some retreat centers and all the way up to cruises. But in my backyard, like right over there, I go for a walk every day in a YMCA camp. It has at least 4 cabins with beds. I walked over there and took pictures of it today. And every time I'm over there, it just screams like, have a retreat, have a retreat. So if you're interested, let me know. Put some comments either somewhere so I can find them, either here on Facebook or on that blog post, or send me an email at michelle@sewingmachineartistry.com, and I'm a double L Michelle. And I'll take it into consideration and see what we can come up with. If it's something that you're looking for, like just a 1-day class, I have a totally different facility where I can offer that. Now, I live around Hagerstown, Maryland. So that's around a place called Camp David. You may have heard of it. We have a regional airport here that flies to like select cities, and that's Allegiant Airline. And then I'm about an hour's drive from 4 other airports. There's Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Dulles Airport, that's IAD. There's the Baltimore Washington Airport, as well as Reagan. So all of those are like within a drive for me. The two that I usually travel from are either Dulles or BWI, the Marshall Thurgood Airport. And they changed the name of it. It's BWI. It's always going to be Baltimore Washington to me. So, because I just know how to get back and forth and the traffic patterns. The one that is more difficult for me to travel through is the Dulles Airport, because it depends on the time of day and the traffic. So sometimes I'll just decide to spend the night down there because I have an early flight. I don't want to contend with the traffic, or I'll just go out of BWI. I love to embroider. Started young with hand, now by machines. Oh, thank you, Maureen. Yes, I started embroidering early too. Sorry, that's Heidi. She always has something to say. She's barking at the cat. So, and my first sewing machine was a sewing machine and an embroidery machine all in one, because I didn't know how to sew. And I really wanted to learn how to sew. And my mom had an embroidery machine, so I was kind of interested in that. And that's where it all began. All right, well, I think I'm out of wind right now, but thank you so much for joining me. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing this again. Take care. Have a great afternoon.